What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Today, we're breaking down the final two episodes for The Mole, the very first season on Netflix of the revival of the old classic reality show from the 2000s. This was just an amazing season and a great final two episodes to cap everything off. If you haven't watched it yet, one, I don't know why you're here and you're not watching the show first, then come back to this video. But two, it is just so good. Go watch it now. All the episodes are dropped, so you can kind of binge the whole thing. I think I'm definitely going to go back, watch all the episodes again with all the information that we have now, see it through that lens. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But this is just a fantastic show. Go tell your friend, your family, your neighbor, your kid's teacher, tell everyone you know to watch The Mole because they're gonna love it. And I want just to get as many eyes as we can on this show that we get a season 2, season 3, and many more seasons from Netflix, because has been just awesome. Let's jump into it though. Let's start with episode number 9. We left off with episode number 8 with only Jacob and Joy being left to find out who was going to be eliminated and which one of them would make the final 4. And these are two people that were highly suspect to a lot of people watching the show. There were a lot of people that thought Joy could be the mole, and a lot of people that thought Jacob could be the mole, but in the end, it ended up being Jacob who is eliminated from the cast. He is now gone. See you later. Joy moves on into the final 4. We have Joy, Avery, Kezi, and William. Those are your final 4 players. One of them's the mole. One of them will win. Crazy to lose Jacob. Avery was very shocked by this, as I'm sure a lot of the people watching at home were. I wasn't so much sussing Jacob myself, but Avery was definitely shocked. She was like, yeah, I've been answering my quiz based on him, but I was lucky enough to kind of split my answers enough, so that was enough to kind of keep me around over him. And from there, we head on into the next mission, and this was one that seemed very difficult. Also, it was in the mountains, the snowy mountains, and in fact, they were full of snow. Just like Avery, I was kind of shocked to learn that Australia even had that much snow. If you would have said, "Hey, Ori, yeah, there's great skiing in Australia," I would have been like, liar. But this definitely seemed like it was going to be really tough. Basically, how this one worked: there's cache that was hidden on along 2 different trails going up the mountains. So they would have to split into teams, get cache along the way, and then bring that cache to the very top, and that would be what would be put into the pot. So, how are the teams going to go? Well, Joy and Kezi, they end up going together, and then Will and Avery are the other team. Will actually says, he's like, listen, let's call a spade a spade. Nobody wants to work with Avery. They think she's kind of throwing everything. And even himself, he's kind of wondering, is it an act, or is she really the mole? Because she could just be trying to throw sus on herself, right? Get others to vote for her as the mole in the quiz so that they're eliminated, since she knows she's not the mole. So he's still trying to figure all of that out as well. Joy is really thinking that it's Will, but Kezi is not off of her list for being the mole, but she kind of wants to see how everything goes on this mission. So they head on up, and it's a steep climb. It is almost a vertical edge on these mountains, and it's very cold. They're all bundled up. They finally reach the first beacon, and they're looking for the stash. So they have this little like GPS tracker. It beeps as they're getting closer and closer. Avery and Will actually find it, but it's a giant block of ice. It's literally $1,000 inside a giant ice cube that they have to kind of put on this sled that they have and pull up the mountain. Avery here is like having issues with her snowshoes, and they kind of keep falling off. She actually fell earlier too, when Will's like, yeah, nobody wants to work with her because she might be the mole, and like as he said that, she fell like instantly. So again, is this just her strategy of like trying to throw some sus on herself to, get others to view her as the mole? We're not 100% sure. Are these just tactics to sabotage the mission as the mole? You don't really know at the time. Somehow they both find the cash because Joy in Directions goes all the way back to the very first episode when she had the map on Team Underground where they were trying to find the thing buried in the jungle. And they were just completely off course. The navigation with the train as well. And now here again with the tracker that's supposed to beep. Didn't seem like they really could figure it out too well, but Joy and Kezi do both find that $1,000 in the cube and they put it on their sled and they all head on up to beacon number 2. This one was interesting because Avery's like, oh, here, let me see the tracker. Will's just like, no. She's like, well, why not? Because I want to win. He just will not let her touch the tracker just in case there's any kind of sabotaging going on. This time it's 3K, but it's 3 separate blocks of ice, just like the first one. So they have to put that on the sled and get on moving. Joy and Kezi were struggling, and Joy actually thinks about ditching one of the blocks, and Kezi kind of goes along. He's like, yeah, sure, let's ditch one. And then they only had 3 blocks that they're carrying on. Will's actually getting exhausted as well. So you could tell that if he's getting exhausted, one of the kind of more physical people on the show, then everybody else is probably getting just as exhausted if they were trying to carry that same load. And they decide to kind of take a break, kind of catch his breath. Avery wants to leave a block, but Will is completely against that and just kind of continues to rest. At one point, he was doing like snow angels, though, so I don't know if that was more to get Avery to, suspect him as the mole, but it was kind of interesting. Kezi actually starts ditching blocks. So she's, kind of moving and arranging them on the sled so that when Joy's pulling them, they'll kind of fall off. Then she literally, as they're walking up, just kind of leans down and throws one off the sled. And Joy's just going along, doesn't notice a thing. So they make it to the third beacon, which is a 6K block. That's $6,000 in there. Giant block of ice. Apparently it weighs more than all the other blocks combined. And that's when Joy goes, okay, let's get this one on there. And wait a minute. Where did they all go? Kezi wants to go back for the money. Joy's like, no, like I'm just getting this 6K on the sled and getting it up there because we don't have time to go back. Joy thinks that Kezi is playing some mind games here and isn't actually the mole. And she even actually tried to ditch the 6K block. Like she kind of slid that right on off. And she was like, you're right in front of me here. Like, what are you doing? So is this the mole just trying to get every last dollar they can not in the pot? Or is this Kezi really playing games and trying to make Joy think that she's the mole when she's not? That's what Joy has to try and figure out. Will just beasts it. He just carries those blocks up that hill. They get their full 10K in. Joy and Kezi, they get about 16K total because they only got the 6K block. So that's 16K into the pot, bringing the total up to $85,500. The pot's finally starting to grow back up again, especially after it was at a really good point and Joy pretty much got all of it taken out for that one exemption. But not just over yet. They get to their little rest area. They're hanging out in this kind of cabin, and they wake up and there's 4 briefcases sitting in the living room. Each one has a different amount on it. There's an $8,000 briefcase, $3,000, $1,000, and one with $0 on it. And this is kind of crazy twist. This is nuts. I love how they did this. So the final 4, they have to decide which one of them will get each briefcase. If they survive the vote, that money goes into the pot. If they're eliminated, that money is gone. It's lost. So it's kind of tricky here, right? Because you want the mole to have the most amount of money. because then you know the mole will be going through to the other side. The mole wants to have zero, because if you're the mole and you can have absolutely $0 going in, that's your best bet. They're guaranteed to be losing money. So it's kind of interesting here. Will decides, he's like, listen, I've done enough. I have done enough getting the money into the pot. I'm going to step aside. Whatever you guys say, I'll go along with it. For the 8K, Avery and Kezi, they both say Joy should get the $8,000 one. But Joy actually thinks that Will should get the $8,000 one. And again, Will's like, nah, not for me. I'm just gonna sit back, let you guys do what you want to do. And it was kind of a smart move from Will, because he doesn't want to tip off who he actually thinks the mole is. He wants them to kind of give him all the information he can. Joy thinks it's taking an easy way out. She didn't agree with it. She didn't like it. And says that, it's clean hands for the mole, right? He doesn't have to do any work. But Joy ends up taking the $8,000 briefcase. Avery takes the 0. Will ends up getting a 3K briefcase, and Kezi takes the 1K briefcase. But then we get to the dinner right before the vote. And this was great, because right at the end, they were like, Alex, asked them, the host, she's like, so you guys have made your decision on who's going to take what briefcase? And they're like, yeah. And Kezi's like, nah, I want the 0. I want the 0. And and if they don't make a decision, the money's lost anyway. So they end up just going like, all right, well, Kezi takes the 0 then. So she is getting $0 into the bank if she survives this elimination. Loved it. I absolutely loved when this happened, because it's one of those things where, like, it's just, they're like, yeah, we've decided everything's fine. We know what's going to happen. It's going to be good. And then Joy, with that classic dinner time accusal, she goes, I think Kezi's the mole. And Will's just like, Eaton, what? Completely shocked. And again, this is one of those things, like, is it mind games, right? Is this Joy, just trying to get it into other people's head that Kezi's the mole, when really it's not Kezi? And who would end up falling for this? What's going to happen? This takes us into the vote, and we actually get really good insight into what each player is thinking. Joy is, first we get Kezi, who she suggests that it's Joy who is the mole. Joy is not sure about it being sabotage or bad game with Kezi. So she sees that, she's knocking off these ice blocks off the thing. It's obvious. Is she purposely trying to sabotage? Is this actually the mole trying to sabotage? Or is she just bad at the games? Is she just bad at the mission and can't do well? And she's trying to figure that out. But Will, for Joy, is still at the top of her list. Will, who he is still thinking it's Avery. He's like, I'm super sus of Avery, but is it too obvious that it's Kezi? So he's having those little bit of doubts on maybe it is Kezi. Avery, meanwhile, she thinks it was all deflection from Joy saying that Kezi's the mole at dinner, and she's going mainly for Will and Joy in the quiz. So here we go. We're headed into the final. And again, not only is it making it through, how much money each person has is put into the pot if they aren't eliminated. So Will's up first. Will is safe. 3K added into the pot. And then Avery, with 1K briefcase, is eliminated. And there's your final 3. That means that Joy and Kezi, they both make it in the final 3 as well. Only 11K added because Kezi had 0, which does bring the total up, though, overall. And they are up to $96,500 in the pot when we get to the end of the episode. And then it is on to episode 10, the finale, the final. But this is your final 3. One of them is the mole. One of them is the winner. One of them is just going to have some bad luck. Uh, and we can kind of break down a lot here from just what we know even before we go into the next episode. So Avery was eliminated, and she was going mainly for Will and Joy on her quiz. She wasn't going for Kezzy. Will, he was thinking that it was Avery, but he was also really starting to suspect Kezzy. And then Kezzy is thinking it's Joy. So, by the process of elimination there, unless Avery just split too many votes on Will and too many questions on Will when she was doing it and didn't put enough on Joy, that would mean that it's more likely that Kezzy would be the mole. And that's just going into this episode, but we weren't still 100% sure at the end of this. So we have one more final mission with the final three before we find out who is the mole and who is the winner. Just one more chance to get more money into the pot. And we do get a little bit more info on what they're thinking as they head into this mission. Will, he thinks it's Kezzy, and he says it still hurts with what Joy did with that 25K, but you have to try and think, like, would the mole be that obvious that early on, or would that just be somebody who's desperate to stay because they don't know who is the mole or not, and they think they're going to be eliminated on the test? Joy is thinking it's Will, but she is a little bit cloudy on Kezzy, right? She's still not locked in. And then Kezzy thinks it's Joy, but she wants to watch Will to see what happens in this mission. So they're on their way to an abandoned fort, but before they get there, they put on suits. I actually put my little suit on for the finale, but they got all dressed up, and it was kind of like a Mission Impossible Bond type mission. So they went to this abandoned fort, and there was $5,000 hidden in 3 different zones. They had to get on in, but they also had to do it while being undetected. There were drones flying around, and if those drones sensed motion on it for more than 3 seconds, then an alarm would go off. I don't know if that would be completely lose the mission for them or what it would do, but they definitely couldn't be seen by the drones. But it was really cool watching them kind of run around and avoid the drones. It almost like cameras. It was like a Splinter Cell video game come to life. And they find the first 5K, and it's kind of suspended over this pit. And there's like 2 bungee cords on each side, and all they have are 2 poles, and they have to kind of get the tension on those bands off. If it falls though into the pit, they lose that money. So Will, he is Will and who was it? Joy. It was Will and Joy who did this first one. They grab the poles and they try and go, because Will's actually going into this and he's like, for the first time ever, I'm throwing, right? Like, he's like, I plan on ditching at least one of these 5K things because I want people to assume that I'm the mole just for, strategy purposes, right? So they're working together with the pole, and they do a really good job getting the first bungee cord off the 5K. They had to kind of push it down and tilt it so that it kind of unhooked, and they're bringing it slowly back up, and then all of a sudden, all right, Will's like, okay, we just gotta kind of do it this way, and he wants to try and drop it, but before he can get a chance, Joy shakes it and it falls. So she ends up kind of making the money fall. But again, is it too obvious? Was she just trying to get Will or Kezzy to vote for her as the mole? What was the situation there? Will is kind of thinking like, yeah, she's the one who is just kind of faking it, trying to make me think that she's the mole, because he's still on Kezzy. So they get to the second one, and this is where they had to kind of use suction cups to kind of get across the wall. There was like pipes to walk on, but they couldn't touch the floor. And Kezzy ends up doing this, but she falls. She kind of loses the grip with the suction cup and falls right into the thing pretty quickly. And then they're on to zone number 3, which this one was really cool. So there was this kind of bunker that had a cannon in it. So they had to run on in, grab the money and throw it out because there were mines on the floor. if the money touched the floor or they didn't make it out in time, they wouldn't get that cash. So Will's like, I'm going. I'm doing the running. But who is he going to throw it to? He doesn't want to throw it to Kezi because he thinks that Kezi is the mole. But Joy's like, I don't think I can catch it. So they end up having Kezi do it. So he's like, I have to go run and throw this thing to the one person I suspect the most is going to drop it. But she doesn't. Kezi grabs it, so that's $5,000 that will be added to the pot. If they can get out still, they still had to make their way on out of the mission undetected by the drones, but they do that with success, and it brings the total up to $101,500 in the pot. Will be going to the winner of the show. Just a kind of really cool finale. I do want to give huge props to the producers on the different missions and the twists that they brought in. A lot of them were really interesting. The dinner, when they had to choose, two people to stay on the triggers and they were getting spicy food and stuff like that. That was really fun. The confidential folders that they looked at and then being able to bid on who they thought looked at the dossiers, that was all really interesting. The briefcase twist with the final four, there was a lot of really cool just mind games they would add into this that would really kind of bring the intrigue up. Like, what would you do in these situations? What would the mole do? And trying to figure that out and use that information to your advantage. But we get to the final quiz, and Kezi is thinking it's Joy. Joy is thinking it's Will. Will is thinking it's Kezi. Who's it going to be? It was kind of like a weird rock, paper, scissors. Everybody answered somebody different. They brought all the eliminated players back. It was really cool. Kezi's kind of the first name that they put out there as like, could be Kezi. Jacob is pretty sure it's going to be Will. Kezi thinks it could be Joy. That is still up there on possibilities. Like, there's lots of reason to consider her as the mole. And then we get to the reveal, and it is Kezi. Kezi is the mole. Will ends up being your winner since he answered Kezi. Joy thought it was Will. Wow. Really, really amazing. Everyone was shocked. It was Kezi. They kind of did like a little reunion, and now it's like, who was shocked? Who was shocked that it was Kezi? And almost everybody raised their hands. And they did a little like montage of some of her, sabotages and what her thought process was. They talked about the jungle, and she's like, my goal there was get them to trust and kind of kill it. Like, I didn't want them to suspect me that first week. She talked about how she would meet with a producer before each mission and get kind of briefed. So she used that in the prison mission where she knew the key was right there. She knew it was right below her, but she didn't look. she was like, yeah, I see it. And not going to worry about it. So it was kind of cool to see these little montages too, because there's moments where she'll like look at the camera and smirk. And that was one of the reasons I was suspecting Kezi for so long, was those little smirks she would have. And it seemed like she was having a really good time even when she was losing. So I don't know. It just seemed like there was something there. She wasn't that high on many lists, but that's one of the reasons why I suspected her too. I was like, I even said, like, when I was doing my quiz, I was like, there's a dark horse in this, and I think it's Kezi. I answered the quiz. I said Kezi, and I was eliminated. I think it was because I was spreading my votes out a little bit too much. But Kezi is definitely someone I was suspecting from the beginning, just because just subtle little things and attitudes toward stuff. But man, what a great job she did as the mole. What a great job for Will. Joy was gold. Joy brought so much entertainment to the end game here with her call outs during the dinner. Lots of fun having her on the show as well. The whole cast was fantastic. But some of the other things that were mentioned in the montage with Kezi being the mole was during the bank heist. Obviously, this was perfect for her to be able to give as little information as possible. Of course, she saw the names, and there was even a part where she was just laughing and they all watching, like, look at her, she's laughing at us. The train was so easy for her to just kind of knock it off and taking the exemption card. So really cool. One thing I do wish they would have gave us. So we know there's clues in the episode. normally in the previous versions of the mole, they would give us like a montage of all the clues, like, oh, this was written here, and oh, this was here, and this referred to, Kezi doing this or whatever. But they didn't really give us that. I've seen a few floating around afterwards of like people saying like, oh, like there was a Colombian flag on the planes. She went to the Columbia University, so it's her. There were numbers in one episode, and if you took those numbers and broke them up, each of them relate to a letter, and it would spell out her name, Kesi. I think there was a Chinese checker board, and she speaks Mandarin. So like there were lots of little clues like that. But I wish they would have given like an official one, like, hey, did you see this? Did you miss this? You probably didn't see this one, but here was a little clue. I would think the producers would even want to do that, be like, see, it was under your nose the whole time. So yeah, I wish they would have given us more in terms of that, maybe more from the reunion. I would have liked to hear from the players more about, what they thought and what their thought processes were when they got eliminated, be like, oh yeah, I totally thought it was so-and-so. But we didn't get as much of that. They still kind of left that mysteriously in there. I would have liked to hear what players were thinking early on too. Like, you know, who thought, when did Will finally start catching on to Kezi? I think that was right around the train heist, he said, where he's like, it just didn't feel right with me. I think there was something there. So I would have been interested in hear from especially the eliminated players, like, oh yeah, like I thought it was this person, or even the players when they stayed, like, oh yeah, the first like few weeks I thought it was so and so. Before that, I switched to somebody else. So I would have liked to hear more from those as well. But overall, what an amazing show. What an amazing season. Definitely check it out if you haven't. I don't know how you made it all the way to the end of this video if you haven't seen the show yet. But what a great season overall. Highly recommend it. Definitely go check it out. I hope they do more. I really hope they do more seasons, because it was such a great show. One other thing I think they do need to do, and it was much better in the final few episodes, it felt more organic, right? So like when they came to dinner the night that Avery got eliminated, Alex is walking in and they're talking about like, oh, there's like thunder outside, and then like lightning hit. Will's like, I did it as the god of thunder. I've summoned lightning. And like it just felt like a very natural conversation they were having, because they were all kind of laughing and talking over each other. But because of the edits they do, it does come off feeling kind of unorganic and kind of set up a little bit, which I appreciate the production quality. I really do. The visuals of the show, like all the cool little scenes they put together, like somebody like walking in and as they're waiting for dinner, and it's kind of almost like a weird like movie type thing they're doing. But again, some of the edits make it feel kind of unorganic. Let conversations breathe a little bit more. So maybe pull back the polish a little bit more in future seasons. But otherwise, fantastic show, fantastic cast, great missions. I really want to see more. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. What do you think of Kezi being the mole and how well she did with it this season? What do you think of William being the winner? Were you surprised? Did you see it coming? Who were some of your favorite players from this season? Let me know down there as well. Also, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button if you like this video, especially if you made it to the end of this video. Smash that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. I 100% will be getting my Twitch streams up and running this week. So check out a link in the description for that, where we also have links for my Twitter, our Discord, so you can come and join the conversation over there as well. Check those on out. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. We've had videos, recaps for Survivor and The Amazing Race. We do a lot of Big Brother, and we'll be getting that up and running for Big Brother Canada, which is going to be starting up in February. So keep an eye out for that. Once again, I will see you next time.